Hello, my name is Maloma and this is talking to myself. Today, I actually want to just read some few letters and emails that I've been writing for years in trying to address the racial issue that I've been speaking about regarding my workplace. Should I just say my past workplace? Yeah. And I have to be honest, I feel like this is the right place for me to be doing this right now. I feel easiness, I feel calm. Definitely, I was really coming here through everything I've been through. I think it was the journey for me to be eventually to be here and engaging with the public in whichever way, which is in this format of social media for me, in tackling this issue of racism really, because you started in a little bit of a box. To me, it's like a little bit of a box when you are at your workplace and you are basically fighting all this negative energy of trying to pull you apart and trying to break you or trying to destroy you because you are bringing this uncomfortable topic to discuss to their attention. And they try by all means to just try to press it down. And then they can really succeed in pressing you down. But what I also want to say is that I think everybody must have a way out. You must have your way where you can admit to yourself that I am going to try this for as much as this point. And if there is no change at that point, whatever you decide for yourself, really, you have to have a way out. You have to have a step further that you can take to address whatever you are dealing with, whether at your workplace, personal stuff, or in your relationship, anything that involves human tension and disagreements. You have to have your way out. You can't just be arguing about something over and over and over again. It just changes color. I mean, it is still the same thing, really. I found it very important that I must have a way out, and this is my way out. Of course, I knew it's not going to be easy, can't be easy. These kind of things are not really easy. When you leave a comfortable place, which wasn't really comfortable for me because I was really always anxious and whatever it is that they will be coming up with to accuse me of. It was just like a bang, bang, bang situation, really. Now I'm feeling home. Now, I can talk. Yeah, so I'm just here minding my own business, really talking to myself, and I feel that I'm full of purpose now. I feel like my purpose is directional. It might have pivoted, taken a turn, but I think I'm still going to address the same issues that I've been addressing for years in my little cocoon or my little box or wherever I was. But I've been sharing my journey on social media, so it is not new what I'm going to be presenting. For me, I feel if I wasn't doing this right now, after all I've been through, I think I would really live a regretful life. I mean, the last days that I'm left with, really. And I don't want to regret anything. It's going to be tough. It's going to be, because it's a place of unknown, you know. I'm going to a place of unknown. I don't even know the corners, but I've done my little bit of homework. I know how it can be, how, difficult it will definitely be if you are a person who's trying to share truthfulness. I mean, I've seen it from other people who lived a life of trying to be truthful, how hard it can be. So I think I've been preparing really, and I accept or I expect certain things to happen. Can be a shock when you do certain things, of course, emotions and reactions or whatever it is that is going to come along the path of you doing whatever you're doing. It will be negative, it will be positive, but the reaction is exactly why you're doing what you're doing. So you shouldn't really be that much confused or derailed by people's reactions or how they deal with what you're saying. Remember, if somebody's crazy, really, no one cares about what they're saying. I mean, that's why it's easier for people to label others so that they can try to ignore them. But if you are speaking truthfulness, I mean, you can only ignore. You can only ignore for as long as you think it works for you, but eventually you'll have to pull up your socks and get out of the house try to address what is directed at you. The social media space for me, I find it that you can actually contribute greatly in touching or changing people's lives, and especially if you do it with more direction and more purpose driven. It's always easy to just be twerking and doing all those lovely things, and then you'll get a nice little response, of course. But sometimes we need to also accommodate those who are doing it for a certain purpose. It's just accommodate them. I just want to do it for a little bit of a purpose. Might not be nice because I mean no one likes to be told of their weaknesses. I have mine, but I don't think I mind that much to hear my weaknesses. I know I can be stubborn. I know I can be, you know, not easily swayed. But it is me. We work on it, and I think that's how human beings evolve really and become better than they were a day before. The thing about telling the truth, why it is so difficult, is because usually people go through life wearing masks. And when you are a person who's really focusing on telling the truth, you're basically going to unmask them. And people who goes around in masks don't like being unmasked, especially during the day. So of course you're going to get some threats, you're going to get some little bit of bullying trying to make you stop what you're saying. It is part of this journey of talking the truth, to be honest. Otherwise, what are you doing it for? There has to be some resistance. I think it makes it nice and lovely and exciting. Usually people do all this, intimidation tactics to make people go silent of their experiences of what they put them through really, and it is very effective, to bring fear and a little bit of terror to someone to try to silence them. It works. That's why people apply it, and it has been applied for years. But sometimes you just have to stick on your truth and go ahead and face the music that comes with what you're trying to say, you're trying to express, or you're trying to share. It's not an easy job telling the truth. I mean, it's not like telling the truth is a little bit of, okay, in my case, I don't find it to be too biblical. I'm just telling my experience the way I experienced them. To me, is the truth. And because I'm a little bit of a factual person, I always like to bring some supporting elements or documents that I've to show that I've actually walked that path, that I've actually been in that space with that person during that day or date, or I mean, just to prove the validity of what I'm saying. I try to be very truthful, especially in this regard, because a lot of people's it's a lot of lives that are involved, and you affect people. I mean, they always affect you by what they do, but sometimes you just have to be considerate yourself. So you have to be really on the money, on the spot of whatever you're trying to convey. And I mean, you are going to meet bullies. Bullies are people who they always try to hush everybody. They always try to keep everybody silent. I mean, it is, and it only works for them because they are the one who did you wrong. So to make you silent, it only benefits them, not you. I mean, for me, if you've gone through something life changing, you know, I think it's important to share. It is why we go through these things, to share and then to have an impact on other people's lives in a way that it can help them to deal with these situations that I've been through in a little bit, in a better way. It's passing of information, really. And I think human beings should be very interested in information. You have to try to get as much information as possible so that you can make better decisions, better judgments. I think most people are not that much informed of the opportunities or options they have when they're facing a certain challenge. Look, bullies usually, of course, they have connections and they can do a lot of things to make your life a little bit of miserable. But that's part of the course, you know, because that is an evidence for you to say, oh, this is what has been done to me recently, and then clearly, in support of what I've been saying all along, this is another attempt of trying to silence me or whatever it is that people try to do. Yeah, I'm just here to talk, really. I love this. It's very simple. I'm just here looking at speaking through the mic, looking at the lens. There isn't much complication. So I like it. It's simple. I can do this. This feels good, actually. Hmm. I was a little bit uptight about it because you don't know how you're going to do it, really. How you're going to pass your message. Is it the right thing? Is it the right time? Is there the right time, really? You just have to do it. And I'm doing it. It is my life. And this is the part of the space of the air. What is it that people say? This is what I am, to do what I have to do. Yeah, that's exactly what. As I said, yes, I'll be focusing on reading letters. Well, I had a meeting in 2014, I think, somewhere mid-year. I had a meeting with the hospital manager, left the clinic hospital. Then it was Mr. Stein Opperman. Yes. And then we spoke about a lot of things that I've been experiencing. And then through that meeting, I mean, he was a very good listener. He told me that it's best for me to write down the complaints or any things that I am subjected to so that we can talk with things on paper. I took his advice. September 9, 2014, I wrote him a letter. Here's how it went. I hope you're well. With all due respect, it took me so much sadness and courage to pen this letter for your attention. I hope with your hectic schedule and commitments can find the time to go through it. No action or actions is necessarily expected from this. However, of most importance is your awareness. During the period I've been here, not that long, as I'm always reminded of plus minus 20 years of other people's experience, something about people in my profession that had left a clear note, really. And, well, I have to say it like I wrote it. I'm always reminded of their 20 plus minus 20 years of their services there. Even though plus minus 20 years back doesn't bring me a good picture. I'm thinking about apartheid, I'm thinking about all the things that we've been through in this country. So definitely there were no chances that I would be there 20 plus minus 20 years ago at that time. This is 2014 that I've sent this letter. Continuing, I feel like I have been in and out of disciplinary hearing more than anyone else in this profession. Talking about being there now, or the unit managers just complaining about just some garbage stuff. Nonsense. And I just have to always go to meetings to defend myself, and I don't like that for anyone, really. It's not nice. I apologize in advance for the not so well put together letter to you, as I write guided by memory and emotional pain. The following are some of the complaints of many that were brought against me. Seeing patients, no referrals, speaking my language to sisters, not mobilizing patients too much, and other things that they just, when people are coming for you, they really are coming for you. They just find anything to throw at you. So I had to deal with a lot of nonsense complaints. But since it was me, they needed to be addressed. And we did talk about it in our boardrooms and all that kind of jazz. With all the above-mentioned disciplinary worthy complaints, about me, I found it hard to believe that the following incidences done by other individuals in the same profession were ever brought to your attention. Seeing patients with no referrals. I am the one who actually started this seeing patients with no referrals, because I saw them really working like tow trucks. They just come in and they just swoop before even the patient's seen by the doctor. I've seen some stuff. And I remember, I'm writing here that I even went to, as you said, I must notify you in my previous meeting when I sat down with him, Mr. Stein Opperman, that I should notify him of these kind of things, that when I see them. And I went to his office, and then I was told that he was busy, and I took it that way, that he was busy. So I just noted it down. After I was asked to see a patient by one of the doctors I work with, I found the patient already seen, and on inquiry, I was told that he, as a physiotherapist, is a first-line practitioner, meaning he can self-refer. Isn't that what people do when they want to just see patients without referrals? I'm a first-line practitioner. Be a first-line practitioner in your office, not in your hospital. Anyway. Patients falling during treatment, that's one of the things that I've seen, basically I'm just alerting him. Have you been let aware of this kind of thing that I've seen? Physiotherapists yelling at each other, and sisters just fighting for patients. Physiotherapists arguing with a doctor. That one was a bit surprising to me. How can you argue with the person who admitted the patient in a hospital? Talk about some white privilege stuff. going through patient's file as in order to self-refer. When somebody goes through somebody's file, you've got to get a referral first before you go into somebody's file to page it, then check. Especially if it's not a doctor you specifically work with. I understand the specificity of working with a doctor. That I understand. We have that understanding. But you don't go through every patient's file to find self-referral, something to do, perhaps. I'm telling him now. And they will disconnect patients, of course, and then not put the disconnection, not connect it back. Now that it's the patient's treatments and administration of medications, really. I just assume that these were handled as they should through proper channels, as I was not informed of circulating disciplinary emails, as it is usually the case when I'm involved. If I do something, everybody, even the porters, will know. Surprisingly, I only seem to behave erratically and unprofessional, mostly or only when I enter units of African-speaking managers. Maybe a communication problem, as I still await a single complaint from the other unit headed by black managers. I call it like it is. Recently, my colleague, talking about the white woman I was working with at that time, lovely lady, had to part or sacrifice the locum as she was told how full the hospital is of physiotherapists, but I've noticed new additions, faces of other groups. But that's another issue entirely. Yeah, they will limit you, but others, they just have as much people working for them as possible. But you, they will tell you, no, we have enough people looking around here. Before I'm brought to your office again, I would appreciate it if you could give it a thought that I am here to make a better life for myself. I have a family to support. I studied under very harsh conditions for my qualifications, and with all that said, I cannot just jeopardize everything by acting erratic. Don't come for me. Life is hard as is, and everyone is going through something. Let's not make it even harder. I understand some people have personal preferences, but we can all be professional. Minimize baseless complaints as they might ruin some people's careers. Focus on patient's care and personal growth. I'm slightly aware of how hard and stressful your position is, and I try to minimize being a burden. It will mean a lot as well if we are all, physiotherapists, are treated equally with no favoritism or prejudice. With this endless complaints, I always wonder, what's the next one going to be? And it will be very much disappointing if it does not come from an African-speaking individual. Basically, what I'm trying to say here is that, all of them, they always come from the same people, same situation. So if ever it could come any other complaint at that point, can you imagine my disappointment? I'm trying to make it a little bit understandable. We spend most of the day here, and it should be a pleasant place to be and not have to constantly worry. From Maloma, which is me. We have been writing letters. That's one of them. And I have to confess that he really made some changes, Mr. Opperman, because even though there was no meeting that I was aware of, I see human behavior when it alters or when it changes, that there was a weight. And for that, I was very appreciative. Yeah, I'm very thankful for him. Another letter written January 5, 2018, and this was directed to Dr. Liam Brannigan. Well, Dr. Liam Brannigan once had us, physiotherapists, really, together to share our grievances and all that stuff, and just to find out what's going on with this infighting. Yeah. So I thought after that, what is it when you are in the middle and then you're trying to bring people together? Is it intervention? Let me just say intervention. I thought after that intervention, he is the right person that I can express my wishes to. Let's hear. January 5, 2018. Dear Dr. Liam Brannigan, hope this letter finds you well. This is a follow-up letter of the previous directed to Mr. Stay, dated September 9, 2014. Remember about the letter 2014 that I just read, and then things were implemented. This is after 2018, 4 years later. This is what's happening at the present. Obviously, after that meeting, we had a sit down, we allocated each other some work, and then, given each other some guidelines on how to work so that we just limit this infighting nonsense. But however, now in 2018, they didn't, the lack of commitment of our agreement as physios regarding patients handover. We did agree on patient handover, defamation of character, behavior, mostly, and to me, they complain about a lot of stuff that just are not so good, especially directed to a black person, really, because now you're creating doubt, you are creating this narrative that he's not good enough, all that stuff. You know what to do. And of course, black physios at that time, they were also complaining. But now in 2025, I've learned that I'm going to only stick to my practice. Everybody's complaints, they can deal with their own. This is how I feel. I'm a qualified physiotherapist from a highly reputable institution, University of Pretoria. University of Pretoria, always talk about it. And I've been working closely with highly qualified medical practitioners who are all happy and proud of my work. And I've listed their names, doctors that I've worked with. Funny enough, the very same doctors now, my employees, the one working with them. Jeez. It has been 3 years since we sat down and agreed upon the work sharing situation in adult ICU. Regarding Peace ICU, I've always shared the 5-bedded space with Hadley. It's another physio. My question to you is that can such an arrangement found in adult ICUs go on indefinitely? What will it take for my practice to be part of this arrangement? I'm an indigenous black male South African, and I am entitled to work anywhere as much as they do. My white colleagues who have taken upon themselves to share work in the ICUs, which is a staple really among themselves only. And then I'm just inquiring, when will my time come? What I suggest is alternating physio practice in adult ICUs every year to make everything fair to everyone who prefers to work there. And also to stimulate personal and financial growth of individuals concerned. I propose that who am I? Well, you and I meet to discuss or go through the content of this letter together, latest by the 12th January 2018. Of course, no response. Another email or letter. Now I'm writing this to my colleague, my other white colleague, basically, other physiotherapist. And I'm saying I've written, this is the follow-up letter to the one I recently sent Dr. Liam Brannigan, dated January 5, 2018, of which a response was expected on or before 12 January 2018, but clearly I didn't never got it back. Really. I'm directing this letter to you and your colleagues specifically as you have put me through the most despicable situation since I started practicing in this institution. I'm not puzzled for lack of response thus far considering that recent letter, as it is the norm for people like me to always wait when we have concerns. My history since being here is that things are done or addressed swiftly when someone like you voice their concerns. Because it's why. So I'm asking you to follow up on the letter I recently wrote to Dr. Liam Brannigan. In a nutshell, I suggest that my practice also benefit in the arrangement found in the 13-bedded adult ICU and the 10-bedded high care unit in 4th floor. I'm not going to speak of the 5-bedded PHICU shared with another practice in the cardiac ICU. If I must remind you, it's you and your colleagues that continuously used your alliance with those in superior positions to bring my name into a disrepute in this institution. I have been in that boardroom so frequent I even lost count because of you and your colleagues. Here, they will complain and then I get dragged into the boardroom all the time. These ones. It is you and your group that speak ill of me to doctors and influence their choices regarding which practice they prefer, and it always occurs out of unexplained circumstances. Suddenly, the doctors display some sort of resentment towards me or my practice. They are good at that. That I can deal with, as everyone has their prerogative. It is always funny how of a norm it is that certain individuals like you benefit more financially in a country that prides itself of diversity and fighting to address the impact apartheid had on everyone involved. I'm telling it like it is. I do have all the letters that I wrote all along since the initial injustice or unfairness. I also am aware that most issues contained in those letters were addressed in general meetings, of which I'm still to see any response. It is true that it has been over 20 years post-apartheid, but in my case, I always get reminded of the exact things, behaviors we are supposed to get over, especially in this institution. You get my drift. For an example, there was a patient in Ward 2 North, and a number, who had not been attended to physical therapy twice on the 15th December 2017, belonging to your practice. By now, we know how quick it would have been for the doctors to replace my practice to yours. It wouldn't have been the first. There is never any reprimand as far as people like you are concerned, is there? That's the question. Here, if it ever happened that I don't see a patient, or maybe I forget a patient, I mean, the case is closed. But when it's them, who cares? If there is not any swift response, I'm going to lodge a formal complaint to Human Rights Commission of South Africa, Equity Court, and also political parties, as they probably might listen. Or easier route being social media. Well, clearly, I've been on the path of social media for a very long time. Very long time. And I'm here now. Going on. Somehow I feel like I need to read this one a little bit fast because it's a bit too long. Anyway, let me go. Hope this finds you well. I'm writing you this letter as another of many that I've written before regarding certain unfair conditions that persist to take place regardless of my countless attempts in seeking a better and more inclusive resolutions. I'm not to repeat previous grievances I expressed to you, as by now I would like to believe you are aware of the details as contained in letter I sent to Mr. Stein Opperman, September 9, 2014, then hospital manager to Dr. Liam Brannigan, January 5th, 2018, intensivist, to Mr. Van Greinberg and colleagues, dated February 1st, 2018. I wrote this letter for you to note and keep, as I learned from our previous interactions, the importance of having something tangible to validate any concerns that may arise in the future. It is very difficult for me to go back and revisit what I consider to be a dark period in my life since I started practicing physiotherapy in this institution. I'm talking about the Life Clinic Hospital by the way. However, in order to make sense of the present conditions, it is very important to go back a little in related history to provide better clarity. I must also mention that a lot of complaints I enlisted in those letters were basically swept under the rug or just ignored. According to my recollection, the Medical Advisory Committee has been aware, as I had few sittings with Dr. J.R. Hawke, then 2014 Chairman Medical Advisory Committee, about my agonist, and he did attempt to get all sorted and to have structure of referral and the likes. But the problems always arose as other parties and unit managers involved continued with their toxic behavior towards me after just a few months. It's also very hard because I'm reminded of countless times I have set my foot in those management offices seeking help, guidance, and support, as I was literally being attacked or bullied from all angles with baseless accusations day in and day out by individuals that I considered, in my opinion, to be source for support and to go to in times of need and confusion. Oh, English was not that English over there. Yeah. And I still remember the countless disagreements I had with most unit managers, as I always felt very singled out, discriminated against, and barraged with endless complaints. I used to rely on word of mouth as a form of laying a complaint, but with time, I agree it's important to have a form of tangible proof for this situation to get resolved or at least be considered as valid. I have two main issues I would like to address by this letter. Firstly, my colleagues have reported to me in several occasions about the ill treatments and involvement of Miss Suzanne van Emmenis. She really has changed a lot since then. I like it now. Anyway. Third floor high care unit manager in physio matters, with suspicions of being singled out and targeted by her, and I did relay the concern in the group chat before, with promises that she will be made aware of her unacceptable behavior. They expressed how it is becoming difficult to go to that ward to see patients, as they are afraid of being scrutinized and chased around by her with endless questions. Ms. Suzanne van Enemies is one of many, the list which I have, unit managers that have ill-treated me all these years with endless and baseless complaints, accusations, and bickering that, and to me, making my work life in the hospital to be extremely hard to endure at most times. I find her talking about this Ms. Suzanne van Emenis' involvement in the physio matter surprising, especially because we have discussed and agreed that unit managers with history of their meddling, impartiality, and inconsistency in resolving issues are not to regulate us. As supported by the email, Mrs. Marie van Deventer, the elected life, the Clean Hospital Physiotherapist Group representative, email sent to us on the 13th April 2018. I have learned not to undermine the influence the union managers have on their staff by being confronted with such sudden changes in their behaviors every time after I had stood against their boss regarding the unfairness already explained. Yeah, even the sisters, they will suddenly change because I spoke with the union manager regarding my concern. I don't know what they will tell. She will tell them, but it is what I saw. I know how it feels to be bullied by someone you respect and see as the one to go to for assistance. The severe emotional and physiological torture for me were very unbearable, as I had to constantly be in a defensive mode, wondering what would the next attack be about. It is a very daunting and draining experience. Well, this part of me is saying that I'm going to try to read it fast. Really. Okay. Luckily for me, I had and still have Dr. Wandile Khanane is a betraying by my side as a shoulder to cry on and also provide clarity as I couldn't understand their behavior towards me. She was, of course, summoned several times by Mrs. Police Putia, then the Latin hospital manager who just retired recently, and her management associate, basically trying to paint me as something or someone I'm not to her. Yeah, they did try to make her be. It's like being, be worried about somebody. Just, it's not right. People always try to make you as if you are the nonsensical one, while they are the ones who barrage you and complicate your life with their unsolicited acts of vileness. Due to our shared values and long history of working together, she relentlessly squashed whatever baseless accusations was brought to her attention, directed at me, and eventually they gave up or simply stopped. During all this, I also learned that indeed lies don't stick no matter who says them or how much they can be embellished. With my naivety, I never thought this place, the Life Clinic Hospital, as a health institution would be the place anyone could be tortured as I have all these years. We spend most of our daily lives mostly in the working environment, and when that environment becomes toxic, it really affects other aspects of our lives and becomes very inconducive for growth and thriving. I've been doing my best to express my ordeals. The second issue is concerning my practice taking care of renal patients in third floor high care as per our agreement as Life the Clinic Hospital physios. Included in this agreement, among others, was the exclusion of my practice from seeing patients in fourth floor ICU and fourth floor high care and only go to third floor high care. Since this agreement, there has been a severe decline in renal patients admitted in that very ward, with the current admissions mostly being cardiac, medical, and other practice by doctors who I am not allowed to treat their patients still per our agreement. With this decline continuing and affecting my practice financial stance, I had a conversation with Ms. Palisa, the therapist in One West, via messaging on the 18th March 2018, as she is rightfully positioned to have accurate information concerning this pattern of events, because all the practice hand over to her the renal patients as they get discharged from fourth floor ICUs, then high care, and third floor high care. And in that exchange, she agreed with me about the new development. The lack of admissions continued to such an extent that she asked me again on the 11th May 2019 if I still see renal patients in that ward. I assumed to be because I hardly did the handover at that point. And because of her previous tendencies of retracting statements or forgetting certain interactions when we are in meetings, I have the exchanges as proof of our interactions. We all know that our specialists don't want to get involved with our patient disputes, as Mrs. Van Deventer also emphasized that sentiment in the emails she sent to us on the 8th August 2018. I just wanted you to be aware, as it serves no purpose for me to continue allocated to see patients in that ward if there is none to see. This is said especially after I removed my practice from the on-call roster in an attempt to minimize the infighting for patients in that ward and all other wards, such as those in second floor. If this trend continues, I think it is only fair to relook our agreement concerning all the wards affected so that all parties involved can benefit from the arrangement rather than only a few. That is for sure a right footing in addressing the persistent socio-economic inequality, as that will broaden the circle of service and also address the minority rule practice. And to lift and give support to some of us who come from backgrounds of being left out of economic participation due to inherited circumstances. I have worked extremely hard to be where I am at this point, and I believe people like me who are trying to uplift themselves by making a living. My camera might be a little bit not up to par, but I will learn with time. Where was I? I have worked extremely hard to be where I am at this point, and I believe people like me who are trying to uplift themselves by making a living, creating jobs, should be the last to be shut out, threatened, or discouraged, because the severity of unemployment really concerns us all, especially for non-whites in this country. It really. People like you with the vast experience in this business area are important to guide and support us, the emerging generation, so that we can also be so resourceful in the elimination of poverty and better the unbearable living conditions of most in the country. It's time for real radical action to be made and shy away from the old oppressive ways of doing business. I always stood by my emancipation from financial lack by any means for everyone. I think I can. I'm not sure if you would. My slight concern is that in our past interactions, you had a tendency of responding to a complaint I may relate to you by sending me another new complaint from other physio practices, and that always demotivated or discouraged me from relying on your wisdom to be unbiased in addressing my issues. This is supported, for example, by the email you sent to me on the 10th February 2018 in response to a complaint I relate to you. Those kinds of reactional responses, especially in what seems to be you taking sides instead of tackling the issue, make me sidelined with no one in the management offices to go to or at least hear my side. No matter the outcome of this letter, I will still push for equality to prevail and continue to fight to abolish favoritism so we can all live a dignified life. All I'm asking and have been asking for, especially from management and those in higher positions, is to treat us equally and fairly with the utmost respect, to tackle issues not individuals, because we all have rights as South Africans striving to better our lives and circumstances. I have reached a position whereby I am willing and ready to consult externally qualified assistant to take this matter further if nothing is done or followed. This is 2020, February 14. Clearly, I've been preparing myself. Yeah. Well, this is another letter I wrote to Ms. Bonnie Wiefler, Marketing and Communications Life, the Clinic Hospital Manager. This one was written March 2020. I wrote, hope this finds you well. This letter sets the response to the letter written to me, Maloma Physiotherapy, on the 3rd March 2020 as the response to the concerns, contents of which was sent to you in the letter dated 17 February 2020. I always keep my dates and my facts on highway. Maloma Physiotherapy is a practice operated live at Clinic Hospital, has been providing their services to patients admitted by the same specialist for a number of years now, and their names are outlined in a letter written directed to Dr. Liam Brenigan, January 5, 2018, then intensivist. The contents of which you are familiar with as I forwarded to you during one of our main interactions. The only notable change in that list, as you can attest to, has been the recent replacement of 2 pediatricians. With that said, we have been following the same protocols for as long as I can remember regarding patient referrals and handovers. So far, we as the practice have not received any notation of any changes in regard to the way we conduct our business from any of the doctors mentioned in that list. Clearly, she wrote some letter to me, and she said some things about changes which didn't make sense. This is definitely the response. We have been working with these specialists for many years, some of which were already here during the appointment. I must just emphasize that we have never had any problems or complaints from the specialist mentioned, and in cases of new developments, I'm going to start that again. I must just emphasize that we have never had any problems or complaints from the specialist mentioned. And in cases of new developments, really thus far, they usually let us know themselves of such new considerations. I'm not disputing your recent allegations towards my practice, Maloma Physiotherapy, as many before, and I'm willing to follow them individually to resolve them, even though they seem too vague at this point. I will give you the benefit of doubt and patiently await the list of patients' names and this furor specialist concerned. Oh, I remember now. She just wrote, some thing about doctors' complaints, and when I consult those doctors, they know nothing about those complaints. And I was like, okay, you must give me the list of those patients that you're complaining about and their doctors. Definitely never did, I'm sure of that. The subject of patient referral in this institution has been my main concern since the very first letter written to Mr. Stein Oberman, September 9, 2014, then hospital manager, the copy of which I forwarded to you. The part I had concerning this very subject is demonstrated by the contents of that letter and the many code of conduct letters that followed it. Your decision, yet again, to have these allegations directed at my practice without my prior awareness of such is another of your ways in resolving conflicts whenever I have a pressing issue needing your unbiased attention. Yes, when I write about something or I've expressed my concern, she just comes back very defensive and using whatever she can find or just to be defensive of defending the other practice in whatever they do. Always against me, basically. You have a trend demonstrating our interactions that whenever I raise a concern from my practice for your attention, you respond by bringing a new, never heard of complaint from the very individual I'm at odds with. This is easily displayed by your response by the content of the email sent to me on the 10th February 2018, in which you allege that my practice, among other notable claims, are treating a certain specialist patients without his approval. If you could have at least asked to hear my side, you could have been enlightened about the fact that my practice got the go-ahead from him before any other practice. As I'm writing this letter, Maloma Physiotherapy is the sole practice looking after his patients to date. And now, in keeping up with your way of helping in cases of disputes, you find it suitable to bring this new allegation concerning a Mr. Howard by Miss Susan van Eminis. This particular one is even more perplexing to me because the last Mr. Howard we have record of at Maloma Physiotherapy was treated and billed in January 3rd, 2015. On that note, I have no further comment regarding this claim, as my practice is not in position of any necessary information to follow up with the said patient. She made up a patient and she accused me of seeing that patient, and I had to dig and figure out what is this Mr. Howard. I spoke with the accused just to find out if you have ever contacted him to hear his side of the story before you gave so much certainty to the allegation, as done to me countless times. There was no contact whatsoever. This is a complaint from my co-workers. More detailed in the recent letter sent to you on the 17th February 2020 that I assume could have prompted you to respond with this new allegation involving Ms. Susan Eminis. My colleagues have reported to me in several occasions about the ill treatments and involvement of Ms. Susan van Eminis, third floor high care unit manager in physio matters, with suspicions of being singled out and targeted by her, and I did relate the concern in the group chat before with promises that she will be made aware of her unacceptable behavior. Then my colleague expressed how it is becoming difficult to go to that ward to see patients as they are afraid of being scrutinized and chased around by her with endless questions. Ms. Suzanne van Enemies is one of the unit managers that have ill-treated me in the past, which gives me confidence of her doing as accused. At this point, they have resorted to going in very early to do their rounds and finish before she comes in to avoid any interaction with her. Sad situation if you ask me. That's a sad situation indeed. I think it's very unacceptable for any person with certain level of power, we might be of different opinions, to use their upper hand in oppressing and dehumanizing others. As you emphasize, Ms. Suzanne van Eme's writes in your latest letter directed to me, of which they never fail to remind us daily, it will be much appreciated to remind her of our rights as well, which needs to be adhered to and respected. Just for information, the issue I brought to your attention regarding renal patients in third floor high care 17 February 2020 letter is still unchanged. I responded to what I consider to be a constant nag from Mr. Van Greinberg, physiotherapist from another practice, regarding my displeasure with this new arrangement in third floor high care, as his practice and the one belonging to Ms. Van Devender, Solomon and Long continue to see the majority of patients in that ward daily, and the very bare minimal we have there, we always get crucified for. Yeah. The one patient you see is the one patient you'll be dragged to the boardroom with. Discrimination at its best. Personally, I endured enough to crack my spine and distort my outlook in life since stepping foot in this institution, and the only proof I have with my many years of that torturous past is demonstrated by all these letters written through the years, being in bewilderment and many dreadful encounters I had with unit managers, all ending in Miss Police's office, retired nursing manager, in an attempt to find a way we can work together with less animosity. Your request of some proof regarding ill treatments of my colleagues in connection with Ms. Suzanne van Enemies confuses even me with my years of experience dealing with these kinds of unprecedented risks. I always thought a good start would be some morning parties involved in a dispute and taking it from there, but what do I know? Anyway, happy Human Rights Day. Yours sincerely, Maloma's MZ, which is me. Another letter to Body Whiffler about my ordeals that left the clinic hospital. Well, eventually you get tired of being washing in the tumble dryer, really bouncing back and forth without any real resolution. So this is the last email I wrote to Bonnie. I would like to confess that my naivety through the years has kept me hoping and wishing that it could be possible to have these matters resolved right here where they started. Basically, having a conversation where they have a history, where they are lived every day, but after all these tiring years, it finally dawned on me that this is actually not the ideal place to have assistance looking into this matter objectively with an eye for a suitable resolution. This time around, I'm not going to be writing, anticipating, clinging to my Bible for a positive outcome. Instead, I will be taking any needed time and any necessary measure to seek advice from experts in these kind of matters. I had wished all these years to at least receive an email where you will be requesting a meeting of all parties involved to hear their perspectives and the way they are experiencing this situation in your presence, especially as you have been at the front of this tension, but that never happened. Somehow I believe a lot of things could have been resolved, misunderstandings cleared, if that could have took place when it should. The specialist you seem to be concerned about in your recent feedback has been my constant source of support and encouragement through all the years going through this ordeal. And your need to remind me of her whereabouts should be the least of your concerns. She was said something about Dr. Hanane. I didn't understand that. Like, come on, cut yourself slack. You don't have to dig another complaint in response to this letter, as I stated my lack of interest in your feedback this time around. You have never had any interest regarding how I am coping in the midst of all this turmoil, of endless and substantiated attacks, but I have learned that empathy is the last thing I should ever expect from you as a person or even as marketing and communication manager at Life Clinic Hospital. I wish you a happy Human Rights Day in advance, as we will be paying respect to those who sacrificed for us to live in this democratic country. Well, I had to add that in there, you know me. Yeah, this was my last letter. Last email. I've tried by all means to have this situation resolved. Clearly didn't work out. I was watering a rock. And this is where it ended. I was not expecting an email from this point on, because she really lives in her own world and she sees things her own way. And I don't think in her own world I am supposed to even complain about anything. I should just be happy to be wherever she is, really. What can you do? Well, after a couple of months, that's when I received that, just a couple of months, by the way, I received that claim for, what is it? What is that thing from Discovery? What is the name? But basically it was about investigation. Oh, okay. And I wrote a letter again. Now I'm writing this to Miss or Mrs. Yolandi Grayson. She's the senior forensic investigator to Discovery Health. This is July 26, 2020. I even wrote 8:30 a.m. It was in the morning when I sent it. I've been ostracized and bullied extensively in this profession since I started with my services at Life Clinic Hospital by other physiotherapists, unit managers, and a few members of the administrative management members, such as Miss or Mrs. Bonnie Wiffler and Mrs. or Miss Todd Putzia, now retired, since as far back as mid-2012, early 2013. With that said, I will need a clarity from you in regard to the intention of your recent letter sent to my practice on the 15th July 2020. I find it sad and ruthless in nature of you to find it fitting to initiate your so-called investigation during these stressful periods of uncertainty, when everyone is just trying to get a grip of the constant changes taking place everywhere in the world due to the COVID-19 pandemic. I'm always aware. I thought it would be appropriate and useful to share with you, as an investigator, a backup history in regard to my bullying experiences at Life Clinic Hospital. And the traces of my bullying experiences are supported by the countless letters I wrote to management through the years, and you can ask Mrs. or Miss Bonnie Wiffler for more details if you wish to know more than I will share. Anyway. There have been countless attempts to tarnish and discredit me as a physiotherapist in this institution for years. I am now aware that part of their actions were fueled by their inability to face someone who questions and express openly dissatisfaction of their inhumane behaviors towards others. They chose to deal with that reality by alienating me with constant bullying as their preferred form of punishment. It all failed as outlined by the last letter I sent to Mrs. or Miss Bonnie Wiffler, like the clinical hospital manager, marketing manager, in which I have stated my disappointment in her inability to resolve any issues I presented to her without being biased. I also stated to her that I will not bother her again and will seek assistance elsewhere than her office in the future if I need any Should I repeat assistance? Because that's what I wrote. If I need any assistance. Here is an interesting pattern where you come in. I found it very concerning that with more than 60 specialists enlisted at Life the Clinic Hospital, about 28 allied health professionals, excluding their long list of locums, stand in for weekends and public holidays, my name or practice seemed to be the one targeted by your need for investigation in less than 4 months since my last letter to Miss Boniwifla. It will be naive of me to dismiss the apparent connections, as I have been subjected to other kinds of back-ended bullying tactics before. Discovery Health Medical Scheme is the main benefactor or financial source for Life the Clinic Hospital, with majority of patients admitted belong to the scheme. If any professional aligned with Life the Clinic Hospital is to be threatened financially, Discovery Health Medical Scheme is definitely the one to create a greater instability. And there you come in, a senior forensic investigator from Discovery Health, with a sudden ambush coming out of the blue with no prior talks or warnings, as I assume it should be done before a senior forensic investigator is trying to go after someone. My big question to you is, are you financially bullying me, or are you trying to intimidate me, perhaps? Is my practice your target for closure to save funds in these crippling times? Is Discovery Health, being the largest medical aid scheme in South Africa, taking over the bullying reign from Life the Clinic Hospital? The following is a quick summary answer to your question directed at my practice as part of your investigations. I would have thought you knew, as a senior forensic investigator for one of the biggest companies in South Africa, about the Bobby Act, about the hospital protocols in regard to the patient's privacy rules. For as long as I can remember, we as physiotherapists are not permitted to make copies of patients' file content, as it is considered to be an ethical practice which could jeopardize patients' trust towards the institution involved. Everything about patients' diagnosis, progress notes, and others remains in the hands of the hospital involved. The need for any kind of referral is also written in the progress notes as part of holistic treatment to the patient involved. In this case, if you request any information about any patient seen at Life the Clinic Hospital, I suggest you contact Miss Boniwifla, the Life the Clinic Hospital marketing manager, not me. In regard to the coding, I find this request insulting to me, because through my years of being in private setting, working for other companies, and eventually myself, we always use that coding. Yeah, we did. But I don't think the coding was a problem. I think my practice was the problem. I'm just saying it here, but my practice was the real problem. If there's a misunderstanding, or there has ever been any suggestion to have it amended, I must be one of the unlucky ones who didn't get the memo. If ever it is what's going on with my tongue now? If ever a dissatisfaction arises from patients seen, usually and always about patients, I choose not to bill completely or refund the whole amount. Yeah, I'm one of those. I just think if you're not okay with me getting reimbursed or paid for my services, it's just best if you don't pay at all. Yeah, I just don't like these hazardous people who take the services, and when they're healthy and they're above and they're running around, and then they complain about something that is just ridiculous. By the way, I decided to put this as an open letter, as I'm drained of being bullied. And one thing I learned through the years is not to rely on my bullies to address any concerns I might have, to resolve any problems I may encounter. This also serves as a form of showing my transparency, including the fact that I have nothing to hide to you I have nothing to hide to you and everyone concerned. It will also be refreshing to attract the attention of those in more senior positions than yours and to those of your peers, as maybe that can be the only way to bring about change in how some of us are treated in these settings, because it is clearly unjust and cruel, to say the least. I also attached my last email dated 20 March 2020, sent to Miss Bonnie Wifler, Life Clinic Hospital Marketing Manager, as pages 3 to 6. I may add solely my perspective. It is as though the wheel of economical inclusion in South Africa is made not to support small emerging businesses, as they are usually harassed and bullied with man-made restrictions manicured as status quo to make certain the well-established companies on top remains, and those in the bottom stay struggling or spit out, and we wonder why we are classified as one of the most unequal countries in the world in terms of wealth, as several findings outlined. Have a good day further, Zach Maloma from Maloma Physiotherapy. Yeah, I've had letters. It's my way of addressing any issue. In that way, I will have phrase that I did my best to try to resolve issues or any tensions or misunderstandings that happened at any point in my life, or even the people I work with, their lives. Yeah, I think these are the times where we need to prove, and we need to also establish ourselves to be real and ethical and honest, so that we can be trusted with what we present. And I always do to try my best to bring the relevant information to the front before me, because biasness and all those discriminatory behaviors are just they really fester, they really become very worse when unattended. And you have to have a proof, or you have to have something that shows your attempt in making sure that you were not only doing it to defend yourself, you are just doing it so that everyone can be treated or seen as worthy or equal. Everyone can be seen as worthy and equal in the eyes of the law, or the eyes of those who make decisions that affect our lives on a daily basis. Yeah. Well, I just wanted to read this last message that I've sent to Dr. Harris, which is the pediatrician there at Life Clinic, and Dr. Hendrik Swartz, who is the hospital manager at Life Clinic Hospital, just to respond for my experiences of the bullying I've been experiencing there, and basically addressing them in contributing that culture of bullying, which hasn't made me feel safe and supported and heard. But this was a little bit disappointing for me, so I'll just share the message I sent to them. So this one is for Dr. Harris, and I said, "Hello, Dr. Harris." Of course, Life Clinic pediatrician. On the 18th, you called to inform me, or the 18th must be of February 2024, because this message, I wrote it on 17th March 2024. You called to inform me about your intention to bring back Pardon, my ex-employee who is still under legally binding obligation to not seek employment around the place of my operation. I'm saying ex at that point because he just said that he's taking a break. He didn't say he's leaving. He just said he's taking a break, and I called somebody to fill in for him. And then when she called to say that she's bringing him back, it's like it was confusing to me. Like, if is he my employee? Is he my ex? I mean, it was just a disaster. And the tone of the message was, I'm just going to continue reading. You even stated aggressively that you will get him no matter what. Your ways. In keeping up with your promise, you did get pardon, as I verified it myself. Yeah, I was just told by my employee who was working at that time, or let me say the person was filling in, that pardon actually comes and see Dr. Harris' patients. Yeah. Can you imagine? I did approach him about our legal understanding, and you are the one who forced him not to respect the contract he has with me. Yeah, she said that Dr. Harris said I must come. No, black people sometimes they act like as if they don't have the mind of their own, like they can't say no, they can't say yes. It's like as if life just makes decisions for them and then they just follow. Anyway, I have had this kind of bullying behavior for many years at the Life Clinic Hospital, and you forcing him to disrespect me and my practice as the black professional goes to show how little respect you have for me as a black practice owner, because nothing of this sort ever happens to white-owned practice at Life Clinic Hospital beside my practice. You can work with whoever you want. Just respect my practice as you would of a white-owned practice, and this bullying behavior is really unacceptable in our society. I will have Mr. Khanane contact you as my legal representative. Take care. Yes, of course, I spoke with Mr. Khanane. He's well versed in the legal department, and we are still looking into it. After a while, I started, there was a lot of calls and a lot of pushing behavior from the hospital manager. I'm talking about Mr. Hendrik Swartz now, was calling me insensately. Is it the right way to call somebody non-stop about trying to make them not talk and just accept things the way they are? After I have sat down with him, expressing to him how difficult life has been for me at Life Clinic Hospital as a black person, how I've been made to feel very unwelcomed, he decided to just, take the side of supporting those who are oppressing me. Is it a lack of a better word? But I don't think it is a lack of better, because really they are aware of oppressing me. That is the truth. Good morning, Mr. Hendrik Swartz, hospital manager, Life Clinic. Here's what I have been through to address the toxic work environment I've been receiving in this hospital. I've had so many meetings with minimal outcome, they are useless at this point. I had a meeting with Dion Smith, hospital manager, Andrea Ferreira, acting hospital manager, Mr. Stein Opperman, hospital manager. Mr. Stein Opperman did make some changes. And the moment he left, things went back to zero. Anyway, Dr. J.R. Hawk, Chairman of Medical Advisory Committee, Dr. Liam Brannigan, I even wrote him a letter. I'm talking about Dr. Brannigan now. I even wrote him a letter addressed to him specifically, of course, Bonnie, of which I gave up, and even wrote her an email to express that as she rather play mind games and abuse her power as a hospital marketing manager, I am done trying to have her or seek any assistance or resolution from her side. Yeah, at that point, she has shown me that she's really not interested in resolving our conflicts, and she rather be on the sides of the other groups than hearing my side. Instead of hearing my side, she always come back with another, when you ask somebody a question, they come back with a question. or you bring somebody a situation that try to make up a situation as if it's like you are saying this, but we you are into the managerial position. You should know better than to be speaking in a language whereby you're trying to say you don't speak since you did this. And most of the time, really, it was just false accusations and made up nonsense. I have done it all. The false accusations, the negative talks, I've been through it all. Now, this is me talking to Mr. Hendrik Swart. Since this hospital I'm talking about, the Life Clinic Hospital, has failed me so many times for the last 10 years and more, I don't expect anything positive in addressing the toxic working environment I have been subjected to anymore. To be honest, you have disappointed me the most among people I already mentioned. I thought you would come with your experience as a non-white person. He is a colored person, by the way. Kentucky Lama said a bit about that. Yeah, as a non-white person in this country, to add a new way to resolve our problems, but instead you never even gave me a chance so you can see life through my eyes than from those who have been making my life hell in this institution. Under your leadership, things have gone from bad to worse. The level of disrespect for the rules set in place as physiotherapists of the Life Clinic Hospital is at its highest. The bullying behavior is beyond. The abuse of power towards me is embarrassing, to say the least. Bullying, harassment, and discrimination, which all lead to toxic work environment, is a serious issue, especially for me as the Black South African with the background we come from as a country. Yes. Promotion of such behavior should be stopped as it leads to loss of innocent lives. Well, unless if it's intentional, really. I was expecting you to be the light, the hope, the positive movement towards the right direction and make this environment safe and pleasant for all as a rainbow nation, but you chose to go the opposite, which is harmful to the weak with no support like me. We cannot address what we are going through when people who offend rely on threats and bullying tactics to get their point across. Thank you very much, and please don't call again because you are about to jump into the line of harassment. I know harassment better than anyone in this institution because really, at this point, I feel like I've really been the most harassed person there. And him calling me non-stop and all these tones of those threatening tones, and all these people, sometimes they do try to sound in a very authoritative way when they try to make somebody not say something. It's like, to me, when I think about it and trying to make sense of it, it seems like you're not coming from an angle of trying to resolve a matter, but you're just trying to make somebody hush. Is it like, I don't want to say, is it because you don't care about that person's feelings or their experiences? I don't know. You never know people. But basically, that's what he did. He called me, threatening messages and all that nonsense. That's why I said that. But then it is beginning to feel like he's harassing me at that point. Hope for the best. Oh, I sent Rory van Granbeck, Mariette van Teventer, and Claudia Shaft, physiotherapist at Life Clinic Hospital, messages of my biggest concerns with them. Kind regards, Maloma, MZ, physiotherapist at Life Clinic Hospital. Yeah, I did send them all and trying to figure out why can't we make it work, and why do they find it easy or okay for them to mistreat me the way they have been mistreating me for years, and why I guess in a sense I was trying to figure out what is it about me that they don't see as human worthy, or just being empathetic and understanding and supportive of my ordeals and pain and support, pain and experience that I've been experiencing there. Yeah, basically. That's what I said. I asked them what their feelings and why is it okay for things to happen to me in that way and what is their opinion. That kind of letters or emails or WhatsApp messages. I did send them. You have to speak with people, you have to chat with people, you have to do a certain kind of commitment or communication to everybody. Just try to figure out who you are standing with them. Is what they're doing, is it intentional? Of course, it is intentional, but sometimes you just have to try to take a bigger, what do you say, a bigger road or bigger whatever it is, just to give a people a little bit of leverage to say maybe we don't understand each other, maybe we can start afresh, maybe we can come with a better, resolution of what we are going through. It didn't work. And I think if maybe, I'm not so certain, if maybe the hospital management wasn't so supportive of such acts, this kind of behavior could have really been under the bridge at this point for a very long time. What do you do? What do you say? And then eventually you are at this point where you have this situation where you are cast out, you are shut out of the hospital, you are, just your livelihood is just ruined just because you question things and you stood up for yourself and then you ask questions that relate to human behavior towards others. I guess people don't like to be questioned, really, and which is probably understandable. But if we have to move forward, we have to know each other and we have to see each other as human beings than just creatures, which you can just get rid of or shut their mouth whenever you feel like it. Those kind of behaviors or acts that don't solve any problem, really. Just make it simmer and sit somewhere and one day it will just blow up. Oh yes, those are my letters. Few of them, by the way, I've written so many. Few of them that I wanted to share today.